And before we start, I'd like to take a moment of silence for the players and the people that died out in Saskatchewan from Humboldt, the hockey team. Okay. For roll call tonight, we have regrets from Deputy Warden Gregory, and other than that, everybody else is in attendance. And now for our meeting. I know this is sounds duplication, but we're now going to seek guidance for our meeting tonight now. Okay, you've got the agenda before you. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
So seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Delegations, presentations. No delegations tonight. Approval of the minutes from March the 12th. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Seconded? Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Unfinished business from the minutes of March the 12th. Is there anything anybody wants to raise? Hearing nothing, I'm going to move along here. CEO's report. You've got the meeting dates and reminders. Is there any issues with any of those dates for anybody? Hearing none. Is there any questions for the CEO regarding her report?
I don't know if this is the place to write about, but I'll keep it short. I really enjoyed last year, we've got other years when the various department heads came in and spoke to us about their perceived good ideas, plans they might have, things they've researched in, and I just really liked that last year. And just maybe, I kind of rely on those a little bit, and just, mention, good thing to have prepared up, and for the staff to, maybe recognize that that's something I personally, I speak for them, so I find that very useful.
So are you referring to when we did the strategic planning?
Yes, and also, didn't they come to talk to us during the budget process as well last year?
There will be, I've got Terry Thibodeau and Rob Percy coming to speak to council.
Yeah, I find it that fresh perspective of somebody who's involved in the file deeply. I find that very useful for this evening. So I thought it was what. Nothing to.
Any other questions for the CEO? Okay, the department reports. Is there any questions pertaining to the department reports? Hearing none, we're going to move right along. There's nothing for dangerous and unsightly tonight. We have under business items 4.1, it's the Digby Railbed Trail Plan, and Jonathan's here to do a presentation. Can I have a motion for Jonathan to come before?
So moved.
So a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is it okay if Keith comes and sits with me?
Sure thing.
I hope you all know Keith. He's the president of the County UTV Club. He's also a new grandfather.
Oh.
First baby born in Digby this year. Congratulations.
What?
Well, we don't have babies born here anymore.
Oh, really?
So I think you all got to see the trail project plan proposal, keys. And, it's 27 pages, and there's a lot of some details and maybe not a lot of others. So there's a lot of detail about our goals, a lot of details about the process, how we plan to get to the the goals eventually, but not necessarily every swing of the hammer or every dig of the shovel. But basically what we're hoping that we can get you to approve tonight, or consider approving, is the process that we're going to go through to get the rail bed approved. In this presentation, we'll just basically go over, so it's not working, Jeff. We'll basically go over the size of the rail bed, the plan basically, the size of the rail bed, and it says there trail coordinator's role, but it could just as easily say the municipality's role in developing the trail, who our partners are, and then the to-do list that we hope to work on in the next few years. So basically, in one sentence, the plan is to develop, manage, and maintain the rail bed as a safe and attractive multi-use recreational trail for the use and enjoyment of residents and visitors. It's a dense sentence, but that's what we're going to try to accomplish. Right now, it's abandoned crown, and we want to take it from abandoned crown with no rules and no development and turn it into a trail. That's what develop is. And then when we get it there, we want to maintain it. So there's a rough picture of it, and just in numbers to give you an idea of what the rail bed is like. It's our section, not including the town, it's 41.5 kilometers long. There's 11, I'll say, significant water crossings, 30 significant road crossings, approximately 90 trail or road crossings, and those numbers fluctuate quite a lot depending on where people want to get to. There's 125, I think, culverts. That's a base story. That's a basic idea of the trail, but to really get an appreciation, it's great for walking, even the way it is now. It's great for ATVing the way it is now, but it could be a little better. And DNR has inspection boxes they want to check off, and those are going to be the guiding thing that we're going to try to do, is get their boxes checked off to bring it to a level that we know it's safe, and then make it attractive as well, which DNR doesn't have boxes for that, but that'll be a little more subjective. So my role, or the municipality's role, we're going to shoulder a lot of, our plan is to shoulder a lot of the administration, creating documents like the 27-page trail project plan, documentation like when there's inspections, any maintenance that's done, and that sort of administrative work. I'm going to arrange the work. I may do some of it, but maybe it's better for volunteers to do it. Maybe there's somebody whose job it is to do a certain thing that needs to be done already. Maybe someone is already in that position. I'm thinking of at road intersections where we meet the highway. Maybe there's somebody's job in the Department of Transportation to do a certain thing, so I'll arrange for that work. And maybe it's the work of, say, volunteers, and with the ATV club, for example, look at the people who will do the work. And a big part of it will be finding, for the bigger jobs, finding necessary funding. And that's something that, as a municipality, I think we can help them with. Some of the areas where we'll be planning, arranging, and finding funding are obviously repairs and inspections, signage and other safety infrastructure. I'm thinking of any guardrails or, I hate to say the word gates, maybe at the road crossings. We'll be helping them with facilities like trailheads and rest areas, and maybe looking at rules or other standards like speed limits, for example. And then when everything is done, promote the trail. Get people using it, what that basically comes down to. Letting them know that it's there and that they can use it. So, our partners are many. I've told you before, the trail is big, there's a lot of culverts, but we also have a lot of partners. And this is Keith of the Digby County ATV Club. And a big backer of the local club is the ATV Association of Nova Scotia ATVANS. And that brings with it its own source of funding. There's the Off-Highway Vehicle Infrastructure Fund, which Keith would be a channel for that. And they already have been. They've already carried out 3 letter of authorities for minor brushing, minor grading, and there's one started now in Victoria Street to Dump Road. Again, they've got funding through the OHVIF. That's two of our big partners, and Advance is also a great resource to us. How do you do this? Who do we talk to about this? What is the best way to do this? So having Advance just a phone call away is also a big resource to us. There's some government agencies like Natural Resources, obviously, are going to continue to own the land, and they'll have the final say in everything we do. Just they're going to let us do the work. The Department of Community, Culture, and Heritage also has some say. They have a lot of experience with trails and recreation in the province. They have also a great avenue of funding. They hold the purse for a lot of the funding that we'll be accessing to do the work. Another partner, so to speak, would be transportation. Again, the road crossings is one good example of where we'll be working with them. And hopefully we can find other ways to work with them. We're also organizing an advisory group of citizens. We've approached some residents in geographic areas. We've approached business owners. We've approached people in various user groups. So that I can have a sounding board. This is my idea, or what have you seen on the trail? What do you think we need to do before? That way I'm not making these big decisions one guy sitting in an office, but to get another sort of sounding board. And the other partners, of course, will be the public users and neighbors on the trail. So the to-do list. First thing, well, the next thing, is to get your approval, is to have you consider approving the plans we've laid it out. We've had sort of a preliminary approval from DNR. They like what they've read, and from CCH. They say they like it. If we come to you and present it to you. Then, after we've done that, I'm going to talk to the advisory group quickly, and then we're going to arrange some public engagement on the plan to make sure that the public thinks it's the right thing to do. And this is something that we want to do, but DNR has asked us to do specifically. We'll take their feedback, put it back into the plan, and submit the plan for final approval from DNR. And that basically, approval means they'll give us a letter of authority to start actually doing work. As I said, the ATV Club has been getting temporary letters of approval to do minor work, but it's impossible to get funding for the big projects without this major letter of authority. That's what we're hoping to achieve. And then we can do more of the minor repairs and make sure we can do a lot of little things this summer, next fall, and next spring. And we can start prioritizing and planning and funding the major projects. And I've listed a few. Jog and Bridge is the only large structure, and DNR has asked us to get an assessment of it. They said as soon as possible, but I think that it's probably next year, by the time we arrange funding and figure out exactly what DNR wants us to assess. And we know there's two little projects. Locally, it's Farm in Jordantown. There's a washout, which is stable, but to keep it from recurring, we'll need to do some work. And the same in the area of the Van Buskirk, it needs a culvert. The Bear River Siskiyou Trails Association did some work in that area back in the early 2000s, but a culvert will reduce a large stretch of water that currently blocks the trail. And major projects include the trailhead and facilities. Once we get things safe and operational, we can think about making it pretty and attractive. And then we can turn to promoting connecting it. So basically, if you read the 27 pages, that's basically what is in there, but with a little more detail. So that's the plan, and if you have any questions,
Okay. Any questions?
After I read it, I felt smarter. So I like to give you a thumbs up. I mentioned to you earlier, so I want to say at council. Excellent plan, and I've never really seen anything that in depth for projects like this. Fantastic. What was I going to do? I felt like I genuinely learned something.
It's a big trail, and I didn't know how much to put in, but I felt like we needed to get written down where we are before we can write down where we want to get to, and just made a balancing act. I was going to bring in the old Barrier Resistant Trails plan. It's about that big. And it was useful, but I couldn't just take what was there and move it over. It was very dense. So I tried to make something that we can use, still something functional.
I read the report, an amazing amount of work done. Couldn't believe the amount of crossings and culverts and roads and access.
In GPS work.
Yeah, just don't realize that not being on all the time. Any idea like where you'd be in 5 years' time? You know, it's a long time to get this thing, from Conway or from Smithsonian doing it.
I have done some initial sort of phasing, some timelines, some ideas. It's all a moving
For sure, because
target,
funding,
but I think we'll be open. I think that, not just, you're just asking my opinion, the project, the major projects, those 4, those are the big ones. And if the assessment of the Jogging Bridge goes as we hope, and if that doesn't turn out to be a major deal, then there isn't a lot to do. And that is, when I say that, to get the DNR boxes checked off. The Barrier Resistant Trails Association did a lot of work. And again, it's the kind of thing you wouldn't know unless you start crawling around and, oh, that's a new culvert, that's a new bridge. They did do grading. Now, it hasn't been looked after in a while, and it's going to need it again. The ATV Club has brushed from Marshalltown to Weymouth.
From Marshalltown to the Henry Mallett Road. We had a bush hog last fall, and right now we're in the process of doing from Victoria Street to the lower crossroads. That's just with chainsaw and bush hog.
But when I did the phasings, I trying to be conservative, and I think I'm thinking that 2020 we could have the boxes checked off, and then it's a question of how pretty do we want to make it? How many benches can we work that in? How many the trailhead signage and facilities? But I think we'll have the major checkbox done, and then it's promoting, and that's how many people will be using it. That's the question that I'm excited to see. I don't know, but.
Dr. Ross, any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple. Great job. Tremendous amount of work in that. I know you guys both do a lot of work on this trail. My question I brought up to you before, and I've read it in 7.2 of the document, but I'm just looking to see more or less what natural resources is going to do to help regulate the garbage, because I've talked to you before, like trail cams, signage, something that can help. Like I know DNR kind of, I've never been stopped by them, but I hear that they stop you to check for registration on 4-wheelers and stuff like that. Are they going to be that proactive with people dumping? Are they going to be able to bring cameras, how to investigate that kind of thing to keep it down? Because we did a cleanup there last fall, and it wasn't too long after that we saw some dumpage, and it'd be nice to be able to keep up. There's always going to be that stuff that's just nature, but it'd be nice to keep it down.
It's a very difficult thing. I remember as a courier reporter writing about it in 2006, not necessarily in the railbed, but all over the county.
Yeah.
And it's strange. Our plan, we haven't, obviously we can't write a plan, this is what DNR will do for us. We've had meetings, Keith and I, with both DNR and the RCMP, more on OHV violations, but the dialogue, we have a very good relationship and dialogue with DNR. They're fully aware and supportive of what we did, and it's a big part of their inspection. They're never going to say to us, there's garbage, that box isn't checked off. They're going to say there's garbage, when can you clean it up? We'll tell them we can do it in a week, we do it in a month, then we get the check mark. So from that point of view, it's, it won't affect our project, but your thing is let's keep it clean. Our plan, and you saw what I wrote, is that we want to put, by caring for the railbed, we're hoping that people will eventually get the idea that this is something that people do care about and use, so that the idea of getting people on the rail bed is to have more eyes. I don't know that it's something that we can be optimistic about stopping right away, slowing down. There is some people who would like to see barriers for vehicles in certain areas, which would also slow it down. That's not yet decided. DNR has said they'll give us guidance on where we'll need barriers and where we won't, and what qualifies as a barrier.
Yeah, I'd just like to see DNR, I mean, if they have things that they do on their checklist, like, checking for, driver's license for an ATV, like, that'd be part of it, right? But, like, be proactive. You're gonna give somebody a fine, I like to see a fine for garbage too, right? And you're gonna be checking the trail, that'd be something I'm hoping that they're checking for too.
Right, and environment, I think it does more of their enforcement, but yeah, we're definitely talking to them about it, and it's something they talk to us about, and it'll be part of ongoing conversations for sure.
Oh yeah, ATV club, how do I renew?
You want to renew?
Yes.
Well, I'll do your permit up for you, and that's, give me a call tomorrow, and I'll drop it off, and then tell us 4 years up.
Sounds good.
Any questions? Do you have any more?
I was just going to mention, wouldn't waste check if you make a complaint about a problem dumping area, put up a camera, because they did that down on Westport, and we had no more dumping in that spot, and they've been dumping there for 20 years. No. I don't know if they would out in the woods like that, though.
I know we as a club, we called Waste Check for them throwing their coffee cups when you're going on the on-ramp to go down towards Marshalltown.
Yeah.
There's a sign there saying that there's a camera and stuff, and we asked, can the camera be checked? Because it makes a mess.
Yeah.
As a club, we want to step in and clean it up, but through PIR, that's pretty near impossible to get a permit to go pick up garbage beside the highway. There was no camera there, and the fellow who does put the camera and does that was in the hospital, and he's gone for 6 months. So there's absolutely nothing that we
No
can do
options
there.
right now.
No. So as far as back in the woods,
Trail cam and name and shame.
hopefully when we get the trail, we'll get the, what do you call it? You get the, when you feel good about yourself about the trail.
Pride.
Pride, you get the pride in the trail, right?
Yeah.
I know just through the cleanup, and I know the garbage was back, but there were 30 people that went home, and what did the Mitchell say? And I have to change the wording a little bit, but Mitchell said, I'm going to tell my friends that if you're going to, don't throw garbage on the side of the railbed, but if you do, at least put it where I can get at it without climbing down that steep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But that's just to illustrate that that's 30 people who are going out and saying, we care. And they're telling their family and their friends, and they're hanging out with people and saying, and I'm sure that if they were on a trail ride and saw someone or someone walking, they're going to speak up because they put in that work. And we'll just keep doing that. That's our plan, is to keep it clean and keep people involved so that they have a investment in it.
They did that for the trails in Pond Cove on Westport. We got a flat of beer, a bunch of hot dogs, and all the people who were wild on four-wheelers. And sure, they all came, and the very people we were concerned about were like, well, people better not be coming down here. It worked really well. We got the very people who we were concerned about, invited them to help out. We got them, and been very, very few carrying around in the ecological assessment zones ever since.
And that's another thing with when the trail is up and running, then you can restrict the access to go on it as a off-highway vehicle only. If you go on there with the blue register plate, then they have the means to stop and check. Right now, they don't.
Okay, I have a couple questions for you. In the report, like you talked about, like one place where all the culverts get collapsed, but the water's still flowing through. And another thing you mentioned too with the jogging bridge as being a concern, a potential concern. I take it that this still is owned by the province, is that correct?
That's right.
And we're trying to get the ability to manage it.
That's right.
And how long is the management agreement for?
There's no term, but we have, at any point, if we decide that it's too much for us, we just simply tell them, and I think it's a 90-day deal.
Or is it like an annual reporting to DNR, or they?
I don't know about annual. I know they're doing twice yearly inspections right now.
Okay.
They inspect it twice a year. So if the boxes aren't checked off, they're saying they'll send a report to us saying these are the deficiencies we see. And then I don't know sort of the timeline for getting those fixed up. But when it comes to things like the bridge, I've had assurances from DNR on all of these things that they're going to work with us. That their plan is they don't want to see us fail; they want to see it maintained.
Right.
So I'm confident at this point that they're going to be behind us on all of these things. So there's funding channels, there's resources there, and that they're as long as we keep the communication open on our end, then
Yeah, I'm a little concerned that they're putting the onus on to the municipality to have a study done on the Jogging Bridge. Why, if they're the owner of the bridge, why are they not doing the study themselves? They actually have the ability to do that because they have the resources in the provincial government that they go around and do bridge inspections on all the highway bridges across this province. So you would think that they have the in-house expertise that they could actually go out and do an inspection on that bridge and determine whether it needed any work or what the circumstance was with it.
I think the engineering assessments is something that volunteer groups, certainly across the province, have been talking to the province about. That's a concern for a lot of them. There is engineering assessment funding, and DNR has specifically said on that case, we will work with you to make sure you get to help you with the assessments.
Okay.
But you're right, that the Jogging Bridge in particular, it's right beside a highway bridge. You'd think that there could be a streamlined way to do that, but it doesn't exist right now. They do have this process where there's engineering assessment funding. So when the time comes, we'll put our name in and
It would be nice to see the government not working pillars, so the DNR should be able to talk to the Department of Transportation to see if they can't work together on coming up with an assessment on the bridge. But anyway, we're not going to solve that issue today. But I had a couple more things. I know when I was campaigning through Robinson Road, a lot of residents that live on the other side of the track, and some of the concerns that were raised, it was raised to me twice, was ATVs go through there quite quick, and people coming in and out of the driveways don't necessarily can hear them, or the people on the trail don't hear the cars. So, and at the time, there wasn't, and there may be now, little signs letting people know that there's a driveway ahead or something like that. Do you know if that's been done?
There probably aren't signs for every driveway, and in the report I did make a mention of areas like the Robinson Road and Smiths Cove will require, I think, a special attention, special engagement with the residents for sure. One thing that has recently happened is the brushing through there, and I think there's more work to be done on improving those sightlines on all of those, and it's a tough negotiation because we have on one side some residents saying, I can't see the ATVs. We have other residents who say, I love my trees. So we've got to find a way to make it safe while respecting some of that, the residents' attachment to their properties and their privacy. And those signs. And my thinking, it will be difficult to put up a sign for every single driveway that says driveway head, because the standards wouldn't allow you to actually do it. You'd probably be putting the driveway ahead in the driveway before to get it far enough away. But I would like to do two things, and I would like to set it up so that ATV riders are aware they're entering a special area, that you're not in Clinton Station where you can go 50 and things are great. And our hope is that perhaps we'll have a 30-kilometer speed limit for one thing, so that people get the idea this isn't a highway. It's not you're not getting anywhere. If you're driving on this, it's because you want to be there. Maybe you're going to your neighbor's house. Maybe you're going to the lighthouse, but you're not going there quick. And what speed they'll actually go when we say 30 is open, but we want to let sure the ATV riders know that they're in a special area. When they enter Robinson Weir Road, when they enter Smith's Cove.
Yeah, because like, I think the speed is a factor. Like, if you're driving down there 50 kilometers an hour, you're probably not going to hear somebody, or you're not going to be able to react in time if the car's there. And it's a safety issue. That's what it's all about. It's got nothing to do with anybody driving too fast or anything. It's got to do with safety, not just for the ATV user, but also for the person that lives there. So,
I think we're going to go through a stage of education on both sides.
right.
So, say for example, we tell a landowner, we should really cut those trees back, and they say, no, I like them. But then they tell us later, we can't see. So that part of the education is, you need to open that sight line up, because then everybody's safer. People on the trail and yourself. Same token, the ATVers may say, I'm going 30. Well, check your speedometer again, you're going 45. Can we get you down to 30? Also, I think a maxim in trail use is good use eliminates misuse. So again, and I know hopefully I'm not just talking, but I really believe that if we can put up a sign and people know, oh, I'm supposed to go 30.
It's a residential area too.
Right. If they know, hey, I'm supposed to slow down, then let's say 6 out of 10 obey. I don't know what the numbers are. But that's 6 more people who know that they're supposed to go 30. So then more people see them, oh, boy, I'm supposed to slow down. And I think that will cure, I'm hoping that will cure a lot of the misuse we're seeing. Right now, where it's abandoned crown, people can, in their own head, think, do whatever I want.
Just another thought on that too. Where you go into an area where you got a high density of traffic going across the trail bed for driveways, is it possible maybe in the future that we have some signage placed on the trail, like a nice sign saying, here's the speed, but then have a picture, basically a line with all the driveways, hidden driveways, and post it, hidden driveways.
Yeah, well,
so that
say hidden driveways 30.
And then like, at least people were aware and they're conscious of it, and then they'll understand why you're trying to drop the speed down too, so that, yeah, like just saying, instead of saying maximum 30 right here, put like hidden driveways, and then maybe even a line with all the different, and someone not from around here was driving on it, at least they'd understand there's a lot of driveways that cross this trail bed right here. And maybe the awareness. And another thing too, and I don't mean right away, but like another thing you may want to consider is once you've got the time to do it, is to develop like a nice map of the whole trail. And then on that map, you could identify the different places where people have to take more precaution. And I'm talking all the way, the whole trail bed. And that could then go out to the users, like through the ATV clubs. And that could, and it could be online, so people would then know. That would be reinforcing, and again, the safety aspect of the trail.
That falls, both things you said follow exactly with how we intend to approach it. We want them to know this is why we want you to slow down, and you're in a special area. And for sure, we want to. Like I say, it's going to be a long process of education.
Yeah.
I think we'll have to be patient with it at first, and I'm sure that there will be some tension in the beginning, but we'll slowly teach people that this is a 30-kilometer zone, and that could be any kind of advertising and promotion, web pages, brochures that you're talking about, and just getting the word out to the ATV club. And
it's going to take time. It won't happen overnight, but over time, we should be able to get it more managed that way. And the last thing I want to talk about is the waste that you talked about earlier. This question for Linda. Can we implement a bylaw control fines for litter on municipally managed or owned properties? We can look into that, because my thought is the province has a certain fine threshold, which is not very high, and if somehow we can increase that threshold and down the road have hidden cameras put on chronic areas where there's a lot of garbage, you only have to charge 1 or 2 people, and your problem's going to go away.
Exactly.
I think under the new solid waste bylaw, I think it could be treated very similar to illegal dumping sites, because that's what they are. It's not just littering we're talking about, it's like people accessing the
That may
trail,
be the mechanism to do it.
I think through the illegal dump sites. And in our solid waste bylaw, I think there's maybe provisions, I don't know about the fines.
I think we're like $400 because down the line, I looked at somebody that had a name in garbage and they found a bunch of diapers and they said you get $400, you go pick them up right now yourself. No dumping diapers anymore. I'll tell you, if half the town driving by and laughing, why don't you pick up your own diapers? I don't think it's very quick.
There's not too many fridges and couches being hauled back there full.
People accessing.
Yeah.
So,
That was the other thing the last thing I was gonna ask. I know you said earlier about you don't want to impede the use of the trail, but there are certain places like out in Jordantown where the garbage was picked up. That's wide open. Like, anybody, you can drive a transport truck down there. But is there any way like having some foliage put in that you could just put it so that more like it's ATV use or off-road use?
It's something we're gonna look at, and
I know for fire protection, you'd want to be able to move them, but for day-to-day use, stop the people driving down there and then getting rid of their waste.
our original guidance was, well, I guess DNR has told us that they will give us guidance on that.
Okay.
There's different ways of doing it all across the province, and they all have their pros and cons, and it can become a difficult thing to manage, is the thing that we want to avoid.
Right.
And that was one of the stumbling blocks that the Bear Pacific Trails Association faced in their development, was this exclusion. Certainly we'll look at it, and I agree with what you said, that if we don't do it everywhere, because in other places on the rail beds there's significant forestry use. Mm-hmm. Even though we're doing this work, DNR will still issue letter of authorities for forestry companies to access areas, and then they'll have to fix the rail bed up to the standard that we had it in. But and maybe they replace our gates if we put gates. But again, we're going to talk to DNR about it, and certainly I've heard from many people that they would like some exclusion on the rail bed. It's just how do we do it in a way that we can manage effectively.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Awesome.
Are there people that use the rail bed to access their private property? Like, I remember being on there and seeing areas where people can drive on it to get to like the lake property.
Well,
how is that? Is it easements, or?
Say that again?
Are there easements, or people have just historically?
I guess the thing to understand is that we're getting a letter of authority to maintain the rail bed and develop the rail bed. But DNR with the province will continue to own it. And there will continue to be different kinds of letter of authorities issued that we will have, hopefully we'll be informed of and we'll be aware of and be able to deal with. But ultimately it will be DNR's decision in a lot of these situations. There are some places, just to speak generally, where people shortcut instead of using a road or their own driveway, where they do use the rail bed. And right now that's perfectly legal, but under the letter of authority, we are able to set uses, and vehicles, cars, that is to say, trucks, will not be a use that we're setting. So anyone who is using the rail bed for their vehicles would have to have an arrangement with DNR. There is, I'll speak generally, there is another lake where people are accessing it with vehicles, and that I'm going to have to wait for DNR to tell me if that's our issue to enforce, or are they allowing them? I'm under the impression that, well, now they can allow them, there's no mechanism for allowing, and as I say, it won't be a use that we'll be able to allow. So what that means for those residents is
Get some clarity on that, because I mean, if province initially owned it, then they would go to the province for issue or anything. I would think. I don't know.
Probably could pass the buck over to us pretty easily based on their management.
Yeah, or it could flip the other way if somebody's having a problem with it, right? So,
I think DNR is well aware of this issue in that area. The area that we're referencing here is down on the lakes, just around Weymouth, right? That's where there's been cottages built without legal access. There's no easements in place. DNR is aware of it, and they are aware of our concerns going into the LOA. So like you said, it is DNR's issue to figure out. Now, like I say, they're trying to figure out how they're going to handle it. They know this is an issue. They haven't come up with the answer yet, but they certainly are aware that it's their issue at this point. That is the area where the challenges exist.
Okay, can I have a motion now then to accept the trail project plan for the Digby Rail Bed Trail?
A motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Well,
Thank you very much.
He's
Ready to go.
really curious about the municipal process. I think he may stay and watch some more.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, sir.
You love an audience.
Okay.
Once every 12 months.
Okay, so the next thing is related to that.
Not that curious.
It's, at this, Keith, we're gonna do the other thing now. Do you wanna wait a second?
Okay, I'll wait for that.
Okay.
Get a question.
The next thing on the agenda is a letter of support to the Digby County ATV Club to go to government to, they would like to have the ability to name the overpass that's being built out in Marshalltown right now. And so I'd like to know, have a motion to support, a letter of support for the ATV Club to go to the government in regards to that.
I'd like to, they've done a ton of work. You don't need any work for the rewards. I'd like to make that motion.
Have a seconder. Do you have any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. So Keith, your letter will be coming.
Not my letter.
Oh, man.
Thank you.
Well, you're the one that signed this letter to me. Okay, the next is funding request, community grants. We've got 3 here, actually. Bear River and Area Community Health Clinic, Transport to Clare, and Juniper House. I asked that we can move these to our budget process.
I motion to send these to our budget process.
Do I have a seconder? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Hydraulic fracking.
Correspondence, that's just correspondence and information on hydraulic fracturing. No, it's just correspondence. I mean, the ask is if we ever get asked to support it, the ask is that we don't. So, but right now it's just correspondence. Okay, there's no in-camera for tonight, so the next thing on the agenda is to move for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Do you have a second? All in favor?
Aye.